All right, if you're a defense contractor, you already know cybersecurity compliance is a huge deal. But let's be honest, trying to figure out the difference between NIST and CMMC, it can get confusing and fast. The best way to think about it is this. You've been given a playbook, and now you're about to be tested. So let's dive in and make this all make sense.
So here's a question for you. What could multi-billion-dollar defense contracts and, these super sophisticated cyber attacks possibly have in common? Well, the answer to that, it's literally at the heart of everything we're about to break down.
It really all starts with understanding just how high the stakes are for everyone involved.
Okay, so here's the core issue. The entire network of companies that supports the US military, it's a massive, massive target. And look, we're not talking about a few random attacks here and there. No way. We are talking about a constant, nonstop, always evolving barrage from adversaries. And their goal is simple: steal our most sensitive national security information. And this huge target, well, it has a name: the Defense Industrial Base, or you'll hear it called the DIB. Now, don't just picture the giant prime contractors you've heard of. Think of it more like a vast, interconnected web of thousands of businesses, both large and small. They're all playing a part in our national defense. And here's the scary part: every single one of them is a potential backdoor for an attack. So what are these attackers actually after? What's the prize? They're hunting for something called Controlled Unclassified Information, or CUI. Now, this isn't top secret, classified stuff, but it's incredibly sensitive. We're talking about things like technical drawings, research data, project timelines, the nuts and bolts. It's exactly the kind of info that, if it gets into the wrong hands, could seriously undermine US military's edge. Okay, so you've got this critical target, you've got all this valuable data at risk. Obviously, the government needed a way to defend it all. They needed a playbook. And that's exactly where the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST for short, comes into the picture. These are the government's go-to experts on all things technology and measurement. So naturally, they were the ones tasked with writing the official rulebook on how to protect all this sensitive information. And when I say they're experts, I mean it. The sheer breadth of what NIST covers is, well, it's staggering. We're talking everything from the deep math behind cryptography all the way to managing supply chain risk. I mean, they're the undisputed pros. They've built this massive library of guidance that covers pretty much every single aspect of cybersecurity you can imagine. But out of that entire gigantic library for defense contractors like you, there is one document that is the absolute cornerstone for protecting CUI. It's called Special Publication 800-171. This is the playbook we've been talking about. And you don't have to guess what it's for. Its purpose, stated right there in the document itself, is crystal clear. Its whole job is to lay out the security requirements you need to protect CUI whenever that information is being handled outside of a government network. In other words, by contractors, by you. So if there's one thing to remember, it's this. The absolute simplest way to think about NIST SP 800-171 is as the official cybersecurity building code. That's it. It's the set of blueprints, the standards, the specifications. It tells you exactly what you need to do to build a secure environment. Okay, so we have the building code. Great. But, just having a building code, that's one thing. Making sure people actually follow it, that's a whole different ballgame. And that leads us to a really, really important question. I mean, think about it. How does the Department of Defense really know if every single one of those thousands of contractors in the DIB has actually followed the code and followed it correctly? How do they check the work and verify that the building is actually secure? Well, that is CMMC, the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. That's the answer. It is not the building code. It is the mandatory building inspection. It's the whole process the DoD set up to, send an inspector out to your shop, check your work, and make sure you've built everything exactly according to that NIST code. Now, the CMMC program has 3 different levels, and they get tougher as you go up. Level 1 is really just about basic cyber hygiene. Level 3, that's the expert level, for protecting against the most advanced threats out there. But for our purposes, the one we really care about, it's the one right in the middle. Level 2, because that's the one designed specifically for protecting CUI. All right, so we've got our 2 big pieces, right? We've got the building code from NIST, and we have the inspection from CMMC. Now let's put it all together. Let's connect the dots and see exactly where these 2 things meet. And that official connection, That link between the code and the inspection, it all happens right here, at CMMC Level 2. This is that aha moment. This is where the playbook officially becomes the test. So here's exactly how it works. The whole purpose of CMMC Level 2 is to verify that you're protecting CUI. Okay, simple enough. But how does it do that? Well, its technical requirements, they aren't new. They are lifted directly from NIST SP 800-171. They're basically the same document viewed through two different lenses. One is the how-to guide, and the other is the mandatory test to prove you read the guide. And I mean, it's a one-to-one match. The 110 security practices that you have to implement to pass your CMMC Level 2 inspection, they map directly, control for control, to what's laid out in NIST SP 800-171. This isn't a coincidence at all. It is 100% by design. So let's bring this all home. What's the bottom line here? Why does any of this actually matter for your business? It's actually pretty simple, and it is absolutely non-negotiable. If your organization wants to bid on and, more importantly, win future DoD contracts that involve CUI, you have to pass the inspection. End of story. You must achieve CMMC Level 2 certification. So let's just recap the most crucial points one last time. CMMC, that's a certification. That's the final exam. NIST, SP 800-171, that's the technical guide. It's the playbook you study from. And the main takeaway is this: you have zero chance of passing the CMMC inspection if you haven't first built your entire cybersecurity program to the NIST building code. Which really just leaves us with one last critical question to think about. With your future contracts literally on the line, is your organization really ready for its inspection?